Disacare is an acronym of disabled care. This is an organization which was formed in 1991 by persons with physical disability themselves. This was after they had difficulties in acquiring their own mobility devices. My full names are Kenneth Perekero Mugiaita. Currently, I'm the director there at Disacare. This was started by a medical student by then. He was at Ridgeway campus. So whenever I would go to UTH to have them make his brace, they would make a longer brace. Then he would correct them to say, this is the wrong brace which you have made for me. But they could not listen to him because they said they were professionals. And that's when they thought of him starting something which would be able to make its own mobility aids. So hence Disacare was born in 1991 with our core mandate of producing our own mobility aids. And specifically, we went into wheelchair services. And on the area of wheelchair services, currently we are doing about 4 types of wheelchairs. We have the wheelchairs for children, and on the children's side, we do special chairs which are meant for people with the cerebral palsy. Because people with cerebral palsy, they have different disabilities. Someone who you have made maybe a chair which should have a neck support, then the next one will not be able to fit into that device. So those are the differences. And then we do the ordinary chairs which are for any other person which he or she need for mobility. And then we also do what we call the extra large. These are huge chairs. And then we also do what we call the tricycles. Tricycles, these are long distance type of wheelchairs. They are meant for people who are very active and they are strong to the upper part of their bodies. So they are able to pedal just like somebody who's pedaling a bicycle. Currently, we started with the disability sector, but we have diversified further, where we have incorporated another activity, which is called a bicycle ambulance. So this is for rural sector, and those who have difficulties with getting motorized type of transport. Because when you go to certain rural areas, you find there are no accessible roads. And for such a person, when they are in a difficult situation of maybe they need to be rushed to a medical facility, then the only means is to put them on a bicycle. But when they have reached at a stage where they cannot be able to sit, for example, expectant mothers, they cannot sit on the back of the bicycle. So those are the ones whom we are targeted, and the others with children, whereby it will be very difficult for that sick mother to put again the child at the back. Then this is a trailer which is hooked to a bicycle and is able to move on a path, and any narrow path it should be able to move. The other programs which we are doing is we are also promoting sports for persons with disabilities. Currently, we have built a sports basketball court at our premises. We have quite a big land. This was a donation from the first president, the first Republican president in Zambia, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. So in 1990, a group of persons with physical disability had an opportunity of meeting him at State House, and there they presented their needs, and that's how we had to donate this piece of land. It was a bare land. We had to source some resources to have some structures built on it. And there's a workshop and the basketball court, as well as a residence for some of our members who reside there. We are also involved into what we call crutches, elbow crutches, armpit crutches, both wooden and metals. Those we are able also to provide to individuals. We also do what we call walkers. Walkers are for those who are just maybe from starting to walk. They need to gain their strength before maybe they go on walking or they go on using crutches. So these are 4-legged or they could be 4-wheeled. I think it's a passion. We had passion for ourselves as well as others, because since myself I'm also disabled, currently I'm using a brace as well as a walker. So a walker is one of our product also which we are producing. So we looked at contributing to the improvement of the life of a person with a disability, especially the physical disabilities. Because when you go into the street, you find these people begging, doing all that. So we analyzed and we thought if these people are empowered with mobility, they will be able to contribute, just as we as Disacare are contributing to the economy of Zambia by providing some of these services. Because at the moment, even though we have these imported devices like wheelchair, you are able to find these into ordinary chemistries in town or anywhere in the parts of Zambia. An individual needs to be assessed before he uses such type of a device. Because it's not a matter of just giving to somebody like a shirt or even a shirt. You would rather have a shirt which is fitting you. So for me or for us, we relate these devices like a shoe. Everyone would like to have a shoe where his or her feet are fitting well. So even a wheelchair, we first do an assessment. After doing an assessment, then we prescribe what type of a wheelchair will this person need. And then after the prescription, then there is a one-to-one discussion if it's an elderly person. If it's not an elderly person, then there will be that discussion between the guardian or the parent of what they feel to say, this is what we have prescribed. We feel this child does not need a wheelchair, we just need maybe a walker, so that at the end of the day, this child, the muscles are improved and is able to walk or is able to use their crutches. So this is provided free of charge. Those whom we are able to reach within our means, we do follow up. But those whom we can't, as we have already mentioned, that maybe would want some other stakeholders to come in and partner up with us and be able to provide maybe transport for us to move to such areas. Because movement, as you know, is quite costly. That is the challenge which we have, much as we want to make a follow-up to such cases. Yes, we have. For example, to the area of a bicycle ambulance. Currently, we are in partnership with an organization called Mamas. These are the people who are usually providing resources for us to produce these bicycle ambulances. And then they buy the bicycles and then take them into the rural communities where they are donated to the community themselves, and then empower those communities with the information, with the skills of how to handle. For example, the rider, these are also community volunteers. They are not paid for such a service. They are just told, here is a bicycle and here is a trailer, and this is how to handle the patient when there is a patient in need of going. So those who feel like contributing into the community, they come over and they are trained, and after training, they are given that. Then the community will be sensitized to say, this is not an individual property, it is a property for this community. So please take care of it. In case it breaks down, you'll be able to either come to Disacare, get the spares, or go to the Basco shops and be able to buy the parts and fit there. The only challenge which is there is not using the ordinary bicycles, because what it has been found out is the trailer is made of metal. It's heavy, but not all that heavy. So the World Bicycle Relief Bicycle is the best bicycle to use the trailer on. And because that bicycle is quite strong and it's quite heavy as well. So it's able to pull without any problems. Yeah. Yes, last year, for example, PAM, they also invited us to work with them on producing the bicycle ambulances, which they have taken to Chama, and these they are using them for malaria clients, those who have been severely infected with malaria and they are not able to move. Then the community will be able to put them on a trailer, and the rider will be able to rush them to the nearest facility. So those are some of the few which I can mention. But on the area of disabilities, I would say all DPOs, which are disability organizations, those I could say they are all our partners, because they are doing the same cause which we are doing. Yes. I would say also government is one of our stakeholders. Yes. So they have also come in through Zambia Agents for Persons with Disabilities and also through Ministry of Community. But we would love to see if all ministries are with us, because disability is a cross-cut issue. So we cannot limit ourselves to Ministry of Community, but we would rather have all the ministries involved. Because in terms of information dissemination, without you inviting us, this information which I'm giving out now would not have reached whoever is going to receive it. So we feel Ministry of Information, they could also come in and maybe be our stakeholder, and we really appreciate for that. Yes, there's been a lot of surprises. For example, when we had this dream of making our own mobility aids, we didn't know how it will really materialize, because we literally had no resource. It was just an idea developed from somebody and then shared to a group of us, and where to start from was a bit of a challenge. But we thank God, Dr. Felix Suwimba, by then, when he was in the 5th year, he had written a certain document which he landed into one of a Finnish disabled activist, Kalle Konkola by then, who after reading the document, he developed interest and invited him to Finland, where he went and presented that paper. And after that presentation, he said, we don't need donations of wheelchairs in Zambia. All what we need is, can somebody give us resources to buy our own machinery, to buy our own tools, and our own place where we can start producing this. And they told him to say, if you are really meaning your ways, you go and mobilize your friends. So that's how he came and mobilized us. And we had the Finnish Disabled Association are the ones who provided the resources of us buying certain equipment. And this institution, if you have to visit us, you'll be very surprised. From 100 kwacha, which I can call now 100 kwacha, by then it was 100,000. But since our kwacha now is rebased, it's 100 kwacha. We were able to get about 4 equipments, 4 machineries. And from these 4 machineries, what we have now, they are born from there. And that's how the program started moving on. And then another year, he was also invited to Canada, where he met a certain American man who's a wheelchair builder himself. And he invited him to come to Zambia. But he told him, for me to move, my course and the program of training is a 1-month training. So we approached the finish, and they were able to fund his trip to come to Zambia. And from there, we were able to start our training. Instead of us training for a month, the resources couldn't allow, because it was only enough to do the program in 2 weeks. So in that 2 weeks, since we had that zeal, we were all geared, and we made it, and we have our first wheelchair. Even up to now, that wheelchair is still moving. If you are to meet Mr. David Mkwasa, he is the first beneficiary who is using a wheelchair which is made from Disacare. So every time, what we have told him is, whenever it breaks down, bring it over, we service for free of charge. The other surprise is when we were doing the construction of some structures at the center, we did that, the workshop, the residence, and the security fence in 6 months. So the Finnish were very, very impressed with this, and they had to invite the 2 top people. By then, David Mkwasa was the director, and I was his number 2. So we were invited to Finland just for us to go and see how they are doing their programs. And when we arrived there, here in Zambia, we had only 2 people who were going for Paralympic Games out of the country. While that side, they had about 100 plus. So we told them to say, we feel, given that support, we can also be able to produce some sportsmen and women who will be able to participate into Paralympic Games. So from there, they told us, okay, you go and mobilize yourselves. So we came here, started doing the clearing by hand. And after doing that clearing by hand, a certain businessman by the name of William Buckley, we approached him because he had the earth moving equipment, to say, sir, can we buy fuel into your vehicle, into your machines, so that you can clear and level the land for us? Then he agreed and sent those the front loader and the grader. But when they came, they found that the place was so rocky. So he told us to write to Sable Transport, who gave us tires, and we used those tires to burn, and then paid people to break up those stones. And we were able to make our own coach in 1 week. And after 1 week, the Finnish sent a trainer, a coach in wheelchair basketball, who came here and gave us a training for a week. And we went to Zimbabwe to go and play the wheelchair basketball in Zimbabwe. And by that time, I was still active, so I was the first captain of wheelchair basketball in Zambia. And in 2004, that's the time I retired. Yes. Well, we look forward to expanding our activities, and especially bringing back the training component, because the training component, after the person who was in charge of that training left, this area, it has not been operating. So if we can revamp that area so that a lot of people can come in to benefit, and not only to train the mobility aids issues which we are doing, but to expand it to other programs, so that these young men and women with disabilities, they could come in. Those with IT skills, probably we can empower them. School leavers, they don't have skills, we impact them with hands-on type of skills. That would be our next plan. Let us appreciate the local staff, because much as we want to get the imported stuff, at some point that product which we are getting, it went into a developing phase to be where it is now. So even us here, if we can team up, or people could come in and assess the gaps which Disacare has, and see how they can help us to improve in those gaps. That will really be a benefit to us. I think it's just maybe to thank the rest of our stakeholders, those who are still collaborating with us, and those who are still willing, or those who like to come and know who we are and what we are doing. Please, they are welcome. Let them come, especially on the area of disability sports. We know there is an institution which is working direct with government, but in a small way, we are also complementing their effort. So we would like to work as a team and then improve on that area.